Irashaimase! Hello and welcome to Fitaurus Kitchen. I'm your host, Chef Fitaurus. It's time once again for Shoot 'em Up Saturday. And on the menu for this Saturday, we're going a little retro with Verytex, a 1991 Mega Drive title exclusive to the Japanese region. What kind of taste will this import have? Let's get cooking and find out. So as we go and begin Act 1, we find ourselves going and piloting the starship Verytex on a mission to go and save the human colony of Syracuse. Verytex is a vertical scrolling shoot 'em up. We go and find ourselves with a ship with a normal shot that we can go and upgrade through some power-ups that go and drop from certain enemies. So the shot power-ups are represented by various colors. Our normal shot are orange. There's also two other shots that we can go and get, but not in the first stage. There's a beam shot, represented by red power-ups, and a boomerang shot, represented by blue power-ups. In addition to those, there are also shield power-ups, represented by S. Then we also have bomb power-ups, which go and increase our number of bombs that we can go and use, represented by B, and missile power-ups, represented by M's. So everything in this game seems to go and come in threes. You go and pick up a bomb power-up, it gives you 3 bombs. You can go and upgrade your shot from level 1 to level 2 to level 3. And we can even go and control our speed, represented by Roman numerals at the top of the screen next to our lives. We go and have speed level 2, which is the default. We can go and change that going up to speed 3, where we get nice and fast. Or we can drop that to speed 1, where we're nice and slow. 2 really does go and seem a good fit for that one, though, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it at the default. So Verytex does go and have some neat parallax scrolling going on at several points throughout the game. We can go and see that in this section as we zoom past what I'm assuming is a space colony. I'm not 100% certain. We also have some neat scaling enemy sprites going and giving the impression that they're popping out of the background at us. We'll see that here in just a moment. And there's some neat mech design to the title. I was particularly drawn to the look of the ship itself. Really, when I decided to go and look up this title, it was just based off of a screenshot that I went and saw on Twitter. I'd never heard of this one, so I figured it would be a good opportunity to go and look up something old but still new to me. And finding out that it was Japanese exclusive as well, went kind of heightened that interest. Unfortunately, Verytex does go and have some issues. It goes and suffers from some design flaws that were common in shoot-em-ups back from this era. We'll go and touch on those in just a moment. So the stage progression is relatively straightforward, where we're going and flying through a stage, dealing with waves of enemies, and the occasional sub-boss like this guy here. Fortunately, they do go and follow relatively predictable patterns, so you just have to know what you're going and looking for, and they're relatively easy to take down. Then we find ourselves at the boss, Mr. Grabby Hands. So I'll take a second to go and show off the bombs that are in the game as well. It's a really neat effect, but I haven't been able to get the impression that it really is good for much beyond maybe the usual enemies that we encounter throughout the course of the stages themselves. It doesn't appear to go and do any great amount of damage to the enemies. So the first boss is a great time to go and talk about one of the major design flaws that I go and feel Verytex goes and has. Verytex goes and uses a checkpoint system for when you die. Was not an uncommon thing for a shoot 'em up title from 1991, but where Verytex has issues is where those checkpoints are placed. I feel the checkpoint placement is poor at best. So if we were to go and die against this first boss here, we would find ourselves in the middle of Act 1. with only a couple power-ups between us and the boss to go and bring us up to any kind of strength. And that's brings us to another problem that shoot-em-ups of the era go and have. If we go and die, we find ourselves set back to base power and almost a little bit too weak. But fortunately that didn't go and happen. We got through stage 1 and we find ourselves in Act 2. There are a total of 6 acts throughout the course of the game. So the checkpoint system can definitely bring a lot of frustration. But if you are interested in going and tackling the title, fortunately, if you do go and die on a stage, you can go and continue from the very beginning of that particular act that you were last at. So we briefly saw the beam shot that we can go and get, and here we go and find ourselves with the level 3 boomerang shot. This one is definitely awesome as far as shoot-em-up weapons are concerned. I love the coverage on this one. So that goes and definitely brings me to the point where I think there is potential here with this title, but in the end, I'm just not wowed by it because of the base design flaws that are present with just poor design. The checkpoint placement could have been so much better. The power-up placement could have been better. Going and leaving us from what could have been a good shoot-em-up to one that, best is just considered more or less a mediocre title. So we already find ourselves at the second sub-boss for Act 2. We'll see if we can't use some bombs to take it out just a little bit faster. And that's what I mean. It just doesn't feel like they're very effective. There's also a lack of impact when your shields are hit, so it's hard to go and determine how much damage you've gone and taken, as well as how much shields you even still have remaining. Just a few little graphical cues like that would have been helpful. One thing I can definitely go and say that I do like about the title is it does go and have a really nice synth soundtrack, that good old Genesis synth where that, well, I guess it's one of those things where you'll either like love it or hate it, but it definitely goes and brings to mind retro gaming in my mind, so it's definitely a positive to me. Alright, well, that'll just about wrap up my look at Verytex for Shoot 'em Up Saturday this week. As always, if there's other shoot 'em ups that you think I should have a look at on the channel, or other games that you recommend I should go and look at, by all means, please go and leave those in the comments below. I'd love to go and hear from you. So thank you so much for coming out and joining me today for Shoot 'em Up Saturday. And as always, I hope to see you again next week.